Thank you.
Okay, hey everybody, it's Tony. Oh, okay. Hey everybody, it's Tony Bacigalupo, Newark City's. It is Monday, August 7th, 12 o'clock Eastern Time. We've got a nice group of folks here, and the subject is purportedly event programming and sponsorship, although I know we're going to touch on full-time dedicated desk membership as well. I see Sarah just joined in. Lada just introduced himself, and then I remembered to record. So we're going to go straight from Lada over to John. John, why don't you say hello to everybody?
Hello, everyone. My name is John Vierig. I'm located in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we are just wrapping up lease negotiations, and hopefully we'll be able to finalize our architectural drawings and start construction within the next 60 days. We're looking at a first quarter opening of 2018.
Awesome. Thank you, John. I'm going to call on Sajid and then Sarah to go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Hey everyone, this is Sajid. I am working on a project to open up a co-working space in the suburbs of DC metro area. So the next lot, I've done some research. So the next step I think I'm going to work on is doing pop-up co-working. And I think I mentioned that in my last meeting as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Sajid. And Sarah, you're on deck.
Hey everybody, I run a co-working space out of Richmond, Virginia in downtown called 804 RVA. We have actually 2 locations, and the dedicated desk thing is something that I want to talk about today because we just partnered a couple months ago with a new location that's purely dedicated desk, and it's only like a block away from us.
Awesome. All right. Yeah, we'll definitely want to dive into that. And Brandon, are you with us? I see you're joined and you're muted and you haven't responded before, so maybe you're going to check back in later, but this is me giving you time to unmute yourself and introduce yourself. My experience being a radio host in college has taught me all kinds of things about filling dead air while you are waiting for something outside of your control to come in and fill the dead air. And goodness gracious, the video is on. Brandon Napoli is in the studio with us here today, and I'm very excited to have him. Brandon, are you with us? All right, Brandon, if you are able to hear us and unmute yourself and come say hello, please do so. Otherwise, let's get into the conversation. So I know that Sarah has this conversation. I don't know if you guys saw it about the fact that she's now offering dedicated desks and some of the questions around the legalities of that and the marketing of that. That's not the subject of this call, but I feel like we kind of throw the subject out of the window every week anyway, so I don't know. We'll see, if that's cool with you guys. But who else has kind of a burning topic or question or thing that we want to kind of get at today? I want to kind of put together an agenda and then we'll go through it.
Tony, I'll mention I'm in the process of looking at meeting with a bank president about sponsorship of one of our conference rooms. So I'm just trying to, I'm not really sure what to ask, what to give. So if anyone has input, I'm actually going to have our architectural firm just superimpose their logo on the one of our walls so they can sort of see what that looks like. And then go, we established this relationship with this bank for banking purposes, but I did throw out the carrot early on that we'd also be interested in having them sponsor one of our conference rooms. So this is sort of the second phase of my initial introduction to the bank.
All right, perfect. That's like exactly what this call is for. So we'll definitely address that, and I think I've already got some good ideas for you. Does anyone else have any other things they wanted to add? Sarah, I saw you raise your hand.
Yeah, totally 5th grade. Was wondering if anybody has like success stories of like anywhere of $5,000 to $10,000 sponsorships.
I have to type and I have to mute and type and unmute, so I'm trying to balance that best as I can. All right, good. We can definitely tie that in with the topic John just mentioned, so that's good. Anyone else with a topic you want to add to our queue for the day? otherwise we're going to talk about those topics and then whatever I want to talk about. Who knows what that's going to be.
Yes.
Brandon, how you doing, man? I see you and I see you're unmuted. You want to say a quick hi and introduce yourself? Damn. We will get you, Brandon. All right. Cool. All right. Any other things you want to talk about? We'll see if we can make some time for it. But otherwise, what I think maybe we can do is start, John, with your topic. We can wind our way through that. And then we'll make some time, Sarah, if you can, towards the second half of the hour to discuss the dedicated desks. Does that sound good? All right. Awesome. So, John, you have a conference room and you are going to meet with a bank to potentially sell a sponsorship with the bank to have like some naming rights on that conference room among potentially other things. Is that right?
That is correct. And there's another co-working facility here in Charlotte that has done something similar with a healthcare organization called Ortho Carolina. So on any of their events, it's sponsored in the Ortho Care conference room. And that's sort of what I'd be looking at with my conference room. It's just, I sort of factor this looking back at my retail days on what it costs for advertising. Obviously with social media, it's far more effective, but banks are sort of old school. They still use a lot of print media, radio, television. And I know what $2,000 a month buys in whether it's print or radio, very little. So that's sort of what I'm looking at is roughly a annual sponsorship of about $20,000.
Okay, got it. And that actually does sound in the general vibe range of what I would expect for something like naming rights on a conference room. What else are you looking at including in that package?
Well, obviously this is a single branch here in Charlotte, and it's really, they're geared more toward online internet usage, but they don't have a presence in the part of town where I'm at. So they have, obviously their loan officers going out making calls. We'd allow them so many hours, obviously a month, and obviously any type of collateral material that they would want to put out in the conference room. So, I'm still sort of searching for ideas. I want to get a little further along before I schedule this meeting.
Okay. And do you have like a rate sheet of like other sponsorship levels, lower, mid, high, that kind of thing?
Not at this point.
Okay. All right. Great. When's the meeting?
I haven't scheduled it. I'm waiting to get like I said, a rendering of the space so we could show their logo on the wall.
Got it. Okay. All right. Cool.
I've been within 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay. Who else here is working on sponsorships, like developing sponsorship packages? Sarah? Lotta, are you're working on sponsorships? No? Oh, hang on. All right, I unmuted you. Go ahead.
Yeah, just with the city and county officials. So it's kind of different. But I am interested in the rate schedule for different levels of sponsorship.
Yeah, I'm thinking that there's an opportunity here to kind of collaborate on developing a document, or at least kind of, look over each other's shoulders. Maybe we could even make that a bit of a working session, is come up with a few different packages, in like a document, like a template document, and we could all just kind of copy and paste it as we see fit.
Good. Thank you.
We might actually make this a little screen share co-work session this afternoon. All right, let's talk through this a little bit more, and then let's see if that makes sense. Maybe we'll actually just start creating a document right now. That'll make everybody's life a little bit easier. Okay, so one of the things I would say, John, as I'm thinking this through, is to get a better idea of the client and what the potential sponsor, and what their interests are. What's the outcome that they want. And so I guess what I'm curious about is what relationship do you currently have there? Is it a personal contact that you have, or is it no personal contact? Like, kind of who's your person there?
I'm fortunate to have done business with the chairman of the board and know the CEO president from years past. I hadn't done any business with him, but there was a relationship. And your question before, like all banks, they work on trying to bring in deposits. So for them, it would be a branding mechanism to, potentially get in front of 200 plus new members at various levels, for whether it's just deposits or loans, more importantly for the bank.
Right. So their goal is that they want more customers, right? I mean, more account holders, and want those account holders to have larger sums of money, right, at the end of the day.
Correct.
Now, I assume that there are some kinds of KPIs that are indicative of that being kind of progressing towards, the right direction. So if I'm a bank and my main win outcome is I want lots of wealthy account holders, right, and then I'm successful, we don't go right after that thing, but we go after circumstances that create the greater likelihood that that number will go up. So, for example, more successful businesses in the city is going to just inevitably raise that tide. Or just more business owners who are aware of the fact that this bank exists and are aware of the services that the bank has to offer. Or even further, more people who have a direct relationship with that bank and have some level of trust in the people who work with that bank. And so where you kind of, you can map that out, right? You come up with like 5 or 10 of what those things are. And then you say, okay, which of these are the top 1 or 2 or 3 things that I can help them to increase? And those are all things that obviously you can do. But then you can map that to activities that are according. Sure, your name is on the conference room. That gets you awareness with your target market. Very easy to kind of create that connection. How can we be doing more? Well, we're going to stimulate more new businesses. So just by sponsoring us, the fact that we exist, that's going to help you. And then how can we maybe even go a little bit further in terms of creating a relationship between the bank and your members in a way that also helps you? And what I'm thinking there is, is there a way that you can sell them on having someone from their company come and give a, fundamentals of finance for entrepreneurs talk, once a month or whatever it is, where they do a Q&A and they just provide whatever answers or whatever that they can. And so it's great branding for the bank because now there's a representative in your space, face-to-face, the members have a relationship with them. But now you've also got a valuable program that attracts and retains your members as well, So I'm just kind of like riffing here, but what I want to do for your sake is like hear from them exactly what it is that they want. Like what KPI are they focused on? What metric, like what angle are they kind of really interested in? And then try to reverse engineer your offering to match that. And so it might be that it's several conversations. The first conversation might be more you listening than speaking, and then saying, hey, I got a bunch of different ways we could do this, and you could kind of tease them with what's possible, but say, I want to make this perfect for you so that when you look at the proposal, it's a slam dunk. So help me figure out how to do that. What do you want to see? Even, what kind of budget ranges are you in? And we talked about this on a previous call, but sometimes the person, you're dealing potentially with the highest level people, but even for those people, they can say, hey, look, we have discretionary funding through the end of this year, so I could give you $5,000 right now without asking anybody. If you want 20 grand, we can do that starting in January, but we got to get the paperwork in by September. And so this is exactly what I need from you in order for my job to be easier. Right. And even for the chairman, like the chairman's got to get things approved by the board, right, or whatever. So they, somebody somewhere is putting together a spreadsheet of what they're going to allocate their funds for next year. Someone's going to make a presentation to the board in the fall for their 2018 budget, right? So you want to just get aware of what that process is, and make that really easy on them. What I found doesn't work so well is when we try to guess, and then I give somebody a $20,000 proposal who was ready to give me $5,000, you know, and then I get zero, you know. So we want to try to, you know, just think of it in terms of relationships, and then, you know, you find the appropriate outcome for that relationship, if that makes sense.
That's great. I love your seminar idea, because that's like giving something back to the community, but in essence, it's also helping brand their bank and maybe expose them to customers that need to establish a banking relationship.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, they don't have to be super salesy about it. The whole point is just, yeah, hey, I'm, you know, John from such and such bank, and, you know, I'm here to teach you about this thing. And then inevitably people will come up with questions and whatever, you know, it just builds trust and social capital in the community. And, you know, all we're really doing here is trying to teach people how to, you know, be in a village again, you know, where there's like the barber cuts the hair of the guy who does the horses, who does the, you know, like they everybody kind of supports each other here. So the more you can kind of foster that, the better. What about other sponsors, potential sponsors? Are you compiling a list of potential sponsors, anything like that?
Are you talking to me or who? Just the.
I'll start with you. Yeah.
Yeah, there's, you know, I'm looking at some other sort of in-kind sponsors, whether it's food and beverage. And we're in an area that's very popular with millennials. There's a bowling alley, karaoke, all sorts of bars and restaurants. And trying to, matter of fact, I just tapped in, went to a community meeting for the area. And one of the things we're talking about is creating a community appreciation card, where members and residents, businesses can go get discounts at all these different restaurants and retailers. And obviously that's something I'd like to offer my members as sort of an added benefit of coming in.
Sorry, I'm keep muting and typing and trying to take notes. So, okay. And so do you have you done like a strong canvas of like all of the potential sponsors that you could have in your area, that kind of thing? Like, do you have a spreadsheet or CRM or something?
Haven't gone to that extent. I just sort of canvassed the neighborhood and sort of put a hit list together, but that'd be a good next step.
Okay. Because one of the things that I'm looking at creating next, and now I've got a couple of resources to make, is like a little mini CRM sheet that's a template that everyone could copy. And that I originally envisioned being for prospective members, but now I'm realizing it could also be for sponsorships as well. And so the idea is just, you know, making it really easy to fill in the blanks and just say, you know, what companies exist that serve my market, or, you know, what are the big tech companies in town? What are the other stakeholders, you know, the city or whatever, and just, you know, get as much of that info as you can. And then you can start to figure out, well, who do I know, or who do I know who knows somebody at all of these companies, or how can I get to know somebody at these companies and just start getting those relationships. And then when you have our sponsor rate card together, you're ready to go with, you know, each of these conversations to just say, hey, are you a $500 sponsor, are you a $5,000 sponsor, or a $50,000 sponsor? You know, we've got something for each of those. And man, it would be great if we could get you, you know, $10, $50, $100,000 in sponsorships before you open your doors, you know?
You mentioned the CRM. Is that a platform that you would do internally, or tie it into, you know, Salesforce or something like that?
Yeah, there are a million billion ways to do it. Salesforce is, you know, one of the biggest, most established ones. Is I guess more our enterprise level stuff. I've just been playing with HubSpot recently, which has been awesome. They do a million things as well, but their core product, their core CRM product, is totally free and fully functional, which is great. I think that it's like, you know, they have their like premium upgrades, but I've been able to be very happy with it without any of that. And then I would say in the most lightweight form, and I would even recommend this in the beginning if you don't feel totally comfortable with a CRM yet, is going old school spreadsheet style. And I actually use not a Google spreadsheet, but a thing called Airtable. And I'm madly, madly in love with Airtable. It's basically, it basically kind of straddles the line between being a spreadsheet thing, like a Google Spreadsheets, but also a database. It actually has live records, and you can link records to each other and have tags and things like that. And I'm actually going to do a little screen share for you on this just because I'm such a big fan of it, and I think you guys will love it. So let me pull this up, and I'm going to show you I've not prepared for this at all, so we're going to see how this goes. But all right, I'm going to show you the sheet that I have for our group, and you can kind of see what it looks like just because it's awesome. All right, share screen. This one. All right. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yes.
All right. So this is all of the members of the Newark City's Organizers Club. I'm going to sort by name, just so you can see. Okay, it's all nicely sorted. First name, last name, email, relationships. So these are tags. So I'm tagging them based on how I know them. And some of these people I know through other means, so that's where they go. I've created a section for regions, and I've kind of tagged that as well, so I can, filter by country or whatever. And then your status in the group. Are you in the your status in general? This is like the CRM status, and so I customize the field type here, and you can see I've got things like hot lead, warm lead, potential, etc. And so it's very easy to just visualize. Right now, this is a view in which I'm just looking at active customers, so everyone here is active. Are they in the club? Are they part of the toolkit? Have I shared the toolkit with you? Which mastermind class are you in? All of you are pretty much in the summer 2017 mastermind class, and then any other like little notes of special deals and things, and then who's paying what in PayPal and what company you're associated with. And so this allows me to have a really good view of what's going on with my current community. And actually I can group this by like how much I think you're participating or anything like that. Super, super handy, as you can see. And so I use this for a lot of the stuff that I do. And so what I'm hoping is that I might be able to create a template for you guys that replicates all this, so you can just kind of fill in the blanks. But Airtable is free as well, so I'm a big fan of it. Thoughts?
That's great.
Just to figure out how to switch it off. Okay. Anyway, so that's a long answer to your short question about CRMs. I do recommend at the very, very least, fire up a spreadsheet and just get names, emails, and status, and then sort by status, and then look at, who are the hottest leads, who are the warm ones, whatever, and then figure out how to kind of behave accordingly. But, definitely start aggregating all of your business related contacts into a place where you can have the, just not be losing them. You don't want like, oh, there's a business card in my drawer. No, the business card goes into somewhere, and that somewhere is central. That's essential. That's essential. Okay. Other thoughts, questions? What am I stirring up for you guys here? What I'm hearing, okay, so there was a question about success stories. So like who's closed a 10K sponsorship? Does anybody have any good stories on that? Because I can tell you one. For Newark City, we had, actually, I don't even know if we have 10K sponsorships. We either had like little ones or really big ones, but we tied it to an educational program. And so the whole idea was, and some number of you had maybe heard this before, but we wanted to host a bunch of meetup groups. And so we curated a number of established meetup groups that we would host for free of charge to the meetup group. so long as they promoted the sponsors that we went and got to underwrite the cost of the meetups. And so we got 10 awesome established meetup groups that already had a big following, already were very good at what they did, and then sold sponsorships against access to those meetups. And yeah, we sold sponsorships between $10,000 and $20,000 for that. So that's the best success story I have as far as that's concerned.
So how long was the time when you, there's a technical term, it's not slipping my mind right now, but the time when you started versus the time that it actually came through?
Oh, you mean like the sales process, like the
Yeah.
Now that term is escaping me as well, but
Yeah, right?
probably between 3 and 6 months.
Okay, good. I have a couple in the docket, and it's really frustrating because they get back with me, they talk to their CEO, and then they get back to me, and there's just, sometimes there's no movement on it, other times there is. And so I think I have one that I started probably like 2 months into working here, and it's finally getting some closure, and it's like that point where it either needs to happen or it's not going to happen. So I feel, for me personally, it frustrates me and made me feel like, oh, this isn't going anywhere. But knowing that it's been, it's in the relatively right amount of time, that's good.
Yeah, you have to figure, I mean, I would say roughly speaking that the larger the dollar amount, the longer it can take.
Okay.
But that time for those big sponsorships, yeah, you got to figure that there are going to be those hoops of bureaucracy and the budgeting schedules and the seasonality and people on vacations and just education and trust building, you know. And so actually, even when you start that sales conversation, if you're really thinking about it, that sales conversation started when it did, but there might have been years of relationship building leading up to that.
Yeah.
You know, the company becomes aware of the fact that you exist years ago, and it's only now that, you know, an actual sales conversation happens. So the actual sales cycle could be very, very long.
Yeah, the last one was over a beer, so I think we're getting close.
There you go. Yeah, I'd very much recommend developing a sales process. And when you create a CRM, that's what they have you do, is you create a pipeline where you say, you know, what's the initial action? What's the next action? What's the next action? And you can start to estimate how much time it takes between those things and give you a sense of what you're saying.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I would say you're looking at 3 to 6 months is probably the easy back of the napkin.
Cool. Fantastic.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, cool. So I want to make this document, but I don't think it's going to be good TV for me to just sit here and create a document while you're all sitting there looking at me. So I might just make a video of that later and then share the document with you guys. But I do like the idea of having different sponsor levels. You know what we might be able to do is we might be able to just throw out there some ideas for what could be included at various sponsor levels. So let's do that. Let's come up with like, what are all of the things that could be offered to a sponsor?
So we have it where we have a lot. I'm like, let me whip out my document. So we have it where they actually get marketed to our viewership. So our meetup network is like 2,000 people, almost 3,000 people. We put them in our weekly newsletter. We announce it. And then they also get like, not control, but they are like sponsored for one meetup or all the meetups, depending on the level that they give.
Gotcha. Okay. So, and then there's the group, like you can have a sponsor logo on your group. So that's one. And then you're saying that you could sponsor one meetup group or one event.
Yeah. So essentially what would look like is they either give us $5,000 for one meetup group. And, you know, I back this up with a ton of metrics. And right, like we talked about before. So, and then they will be marketed, like they will have the crap marketed out of that meetup group. And then if they want to sponsor all of them, we put out their marketing material for all meetups that happen in the space. So that's like an intro with the slide deck saying like, hey, thanks to our sponsors, so-and-so for, you know, taking care of the food and, you know, sponsoring your meetup. And then we also give them like a free social club membership so that we can make sure that they are involved with the community and not just like acting as SMEs, but actually like networking, and if their purpose is to get more developers for their company, that they're in our community during our happy hours so that they have like direct contact with those developers.
Love it. Love it. That's great.
The other thing that's really important to them is like we allow them access to our job board so that we can post their jobs, and that also that they can connect to our freelancers for hire.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, great. What else? What else would we throw on our list of things we could offer up to sponsors?
Well, Tony, I talked about the branding of the conference room, but that can be expanded obviously on any type of, I mean, if they're going to pay the amount I'm looking for on the website and any, whether it's a e-newsletter or e-flyer that goes out promoting an event, especially in that conference room, obviously that brand logo would be included in all that type of marketing and advertising.
Totally. Yes, I like it. I wish my keyboard weren't loud so I didn't have to mute every time I wanted to type, but such is life. Awesome. What about other things in the space? I mean, you could have a presence of the company in the space outside of the conference rooms in some way. Maybe the actual product, if a company has a product. So, depending on what that is, company might be able to install some of their product in the space, which would be cool.
Sponsoring a co-working membership for like a nonprofit or small business.
Yep. I love it. So that's like a scholarship.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. And that could be like a scholarship for a specific group, or like a specific group around it could be a demographic group, or it could be like a financial need group, or like a particular interest.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Lotta, you raised your hand. That's so lovely.
Well, I would suggest offering space for them to create an accelerator program for their clients.
Can you tell me a little bit more about what that means?
Well, I'm looking at Charlotte now, more so Charlotte, but because Charlotte is sort of the southern banking hub, you have a number of banks there. She just mentioned putting something together for nonprofits. So I was just trying to merge both of those together. Most organizations love the veterans. We talked about this before. So you can create space for them to be able to sponsor whatever they want to sponsor to fringe groups. I know we do so much talking about Meetup, but when you sort of zero down on a little bit more, you'll find quite a few, as she just mentioned, nonprofits that don't know that space could be available or be sponsored by other clients on their behalf.
Love it. Yeah, that's great. So the idea there is that you'd be able to have a program that you would partner with the sponsor on that maybe could even be a substantial chunk of your actual space is dedicated to, we're working on this particular thing, like a veterans incubator, maybe even specifically like veterans getting into tech companies, or whatever it is, that then you have like a local investment firm or economic development group or whatever that happens to be something they wanted to do anyway. And now you're going to be able to fill in a lot of the blanks for them. Why not work on it together? And now, their investment becomes essentially a sponsorship of you instead, right? And those get merged together. Is that basically kind of what you're picturing, Lotta?
It is. You have to lay the groundwork for them. I mean, anybody will sign on to that if they don't have to do the heavy lifting. And I mean, you have everything right there. So, $20,000 a year sounds a lot, but I mean, to be honest with you, if they're getting all of this, it's really good. And this is for any state, any sponsorship, anywhere in the United States. You have some groups, they immediately go, no problem.
Yeah.
I saw Steve Harvey's Thunder Dome last night, and you know, the guy that was collecting ugly vegetables was the one who won $100,000 because he added value to something that already existed. The only thing he had to do was to tell people, hey, this is what's existing, buy into this idea, and they did. And so you have a space, so you're creating an atmosphere where they cannot say no.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, why not, right? Make this easy for you. This is something that I struggled with a lot, was, you know, trying to get people to buy into this thing, and instead of just, you know, trying to find people who have problems that I could solve, you know, and then it's just, hey, look, I've got this solved for you. I can tell you a quick story. It's not sponsor related, but it is related to this, which is that for a friend that I have here in New York, she's starting a new media-focused co-working space in Manhattan. And it's actually not a new space. It's just an existing company space that they have a lot of extra room. And they have like a green screen room and a sound studio and all this stuff. And they realized that they could share it up with other media professionals and make money. And also, you know, network and have this like more vibrant community of people around them. And I know a guy in New York who's been trying to start exactly that for years. Like, he's like a super connected media industry professional, and he's been wanting to start like an incubator for media professionals. And so I was just like, whoa, wait a minute. She's already got it done for you. You know, so like, you guys got to meet, and hopefully they are going to partner. They've met and they're very excited, but it's like literally they have exactly what the other person doesn't have. Like, one of them has the space but no network. One of them has the network but no space. And like, when you find those opportunities, it can save so much time and trouble and money. And so I'm sure one of the things, okay, so this is where this really links into co-working, is that what we do is what lots of other people wish they could do, which is like generate sustainable economic value for our cities, stimulate the development of new companies, help people to grow, help people to make more money, all that stuff. Incubator programs, that's what they do. And some of them are very good, some of them aren't. I think that the singular focus on super high growth tech companies is a big problem. And that for a lot of cities, that you can't just focus on that. You have to kind of create the circumstances that allow for those high growth companies to come up. But the point is that there are people out there already trying to solve these problems. And you, by creating the space you're creating, are solving those problems for people. So it could be very easy for someone who's out there trying to build an incubator to meet someone like you and realize that they actually could save a lot of time and trouble by working with you and partnering on developing their incubator idea within your space. And that really, I think that's one of the hugest keys to making this something that doesn't burn you out and does sustain you in the long run, is that if you can have just one of those things in your space, it's going to be way more sustainable. If you can have 2 or 3 or 4 different like projects, like different things like that people have been trying to work on around town living in your space, then you're going to have something that's really diversified. You've got evangelists that are kind of leading those sub communities, and you're going to be in a really, really great shape. So put that in your CRM. And smoke it. I can't not say that. Awesome. That's a great idea. What else could we have people sponsor for? Oh, Brandon had an idea that he put in the chat, which is doing like a sponsors retreat. So actually having like a more of a personal relationship with each of the people who are sponsoring. And Brandon, I'm gonna kind of dive into this with you, unless you can chime in.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. We got Brandon.
Sorry, I'm in a coffee shop, but yeah, I was just thinking along the lines that sponsors are just other types of workers, and they would be just as equally inspired and benefit from the benefits of the co-working space as our co-working participants would. and allowing them to come in and use the space for something unique, like I mentioned, a vision retreat for executives or something, and be in the midst of the buzz of other entrepreneurs and freelancers, and have those accelerated serendipity kind of moments and things like that. Could just be a way of facilitating that relationship. Again, like how much they typically probably pay for like renting a space out for a retreat. Like I'm sure there's a pretty big margin to play with as well there. But it just, again, give another asset to the relationship, even if it was at just to facilitate growing that relationship, and nothing more. But that's what I thought. Yeah. No.
None of you can hear me, can you? All right, I'll start over. I think for what Brandon's doing, which is more like, it's more kind of personal, right? Where it's in a kind of a church environment. It's got a little bit more of a personal kind of spiritual development component to it. What you're describing, Brandon, probably is more appropriate for a project of your kind versus the kind that the kinds of sponsorships we were just talking about. But I think it's universal that there is kind of this level, maybe at the top level of membership, where the line between a member and a sponsor or investor or supporter starts to get a little bit more blurry. And you really, really want that, because those people in that range are people who could become board members or investors or people who give you a loan or partners or whatever, something along those lines. And so that's where I think there's just a lot of opportunity for there to be some kind of sweet spot. And so maybe there's a retreat, right? Maybe that's a component of developing out what that sweet spot is. And pre-launch, there's a lot of opportunity for developing that sweet spot of the founding member. And the founding member is maybe someone who puts down a deposit in advance, prepays for a number of months of membership, and maybe they get a discount for that, or maybe they just get special considerations. Sponsors the space, actually kicks in extra money to help to finance the start of the space, or offers you a loan. This was actually huge for us when we were financing our space. Was we just had a handful of members give us, loan us money on the scale of $5,000 to $10,000 that we repaid to them with interest, but with a very, very favorable interest rate. And because, like a bank wouldn't give us a loan, and a credit card would be way too high interest, these guys kind of gave us financing we wouldn't have been able to get otherwise. And, it's only like, 3 people out of the hundreds of people in our community that did that for us, but that gave us another $25,000, right? So like that was indispensable, and we paid it back with interest, but it was like 3% interest. It was awesome, right? It was like a student loan. And so, again, like coming up with all the things that could be that level, and then people at that level, whatever level you decide it is, yeah, they get special meetings. They get a special dinner once a quarter or a special retreat just for that group. Really creating some sense of distinction. Or it could be that you're just pitching this as a higher level of your membership, that you get more services for that level. How's this all bouncing off you, Brendan?
Yeah, no, I like that. That makes a lot of sense, especially with the uniqueness of the space that I have. I think there's a lot more there that I need to really think through. But yeah, you definitely give me a lot of food for thought.
Awesome. So Sarah, I don't know if you're still with us, but I know we wanted to talk a little bit about the full-time desks and the legalities around it, things like that. Do you want to just kind of repose the question for us here and see how we can help?
So we recently partnered with a guy that owns a space. He wants to be hands-off, and I'm essentially running that space now. So getting the verbiage around, marketing the dedicated desks and kind of like standards, procedures, and stuff like that, trying to get that taken care of very rapidly and put a new face on the space. Because it's kind of like a boys club, if that makes sense. Like it's a little bit disorganized and messy and stuff like that. So to create a new standard to essentially create a community off very segregated space.
All right, so you do have like an existing structure in place because there's already people there. They already have signed agreements and things like that.
I've gotten 2 dedicated desks in there, and then the guy runs his firm out of it. So it's very disjunct.
I see. Okay.
So nobody's really taking responsibility for the space. And like we have procedures over at our main hub, I guess it's 804, the fan location that we have. And this one is called Marvin Lang. So trying to, I understand how to implement the stuff, but specifically like marketing, and just to kind of, if somebody else has procedures on, building a community out of dedicated desks, that's something I'm really interested in to bounce my ideas off of, but also get some secondary and tertiary input on that.
Yeah, cool. I don't want to dominate the conversation, but does anybody have any thoughts they want to add on it? Just raise your hand or push the raise the hand button, and otherwise I'm just going to power through because we're short on time. So there's 2 things with I see kind of 2 divergent things here. One is that with dedicated desks, you've got something that's a little bit different from your standard co-working thing, which is a very clearly defined value proposition that the world has kind of, solved, which is like a desk has a value. It's a certain amount of space, the quality of the space, the quality of the location, put it into a calculator, and there's a market value for that desk. And there are ways to market those desks. You can market them on desk listing websites, you put them on Craigslist. There are lots of ways to like market it, like rent a desk kind of thing that are developed, so you can like look at those. And then of course, leveraging your own community, that 804 within the 804 network. Hey, we're going to be bringing on this new cohort of dedicated desk people. Who's interested? Let's talk, right? And then kind of leveraging that network as best as you can to just see what's out there that you haven't accessed yet within your existing network.
Okay.
Right message to your newsletter, doing a really specific blast around, hey, we're going to have a limited number of desks in this new space, and we want to find the awesomest companies to put into it. Hopefully we'll yield you some really quality members. So that's all like the one side of the divergent thing I was talking about.
Okay.
The problem with all of that is that it is highly transactional, and that leads to perpetuating everything that looks like it's a problem right now with the current arrangement, that it's just kind of everyone's just kind of there and they're not really taking care of the space.
Okay.
So what I'm thinking, my dream always is to not treat any of this like a transaction or a rental of a space, but treat it like you are applying for a membership in a program that is here to help you to advance your business in some way. And so you might try to put out there, hey, we have offices available, you can rent them here. But you might want to try to market a program, and that, maybe there's some subset of the desks, or if you want to be bold, you make the whole thing this way. How many desks are we talking about that are like available?
7.
7. Okay. I would maybe just do all 7 under this to say, we're going to do a special business accelerator-ish program. You might even be able to use one of the existing things that you've already got as a starting point. Okay. We're looking for 7 people who want to grow their businesses. And so, here's how it works. You sign up you apply by this date, and you're going to get, there's going to be a kickoff meeting where we're all going to set goals for the fall, and we're all going to get to know each other's business objectives. And then we're going to, you know, have some meetings or whatever to kind of work towards those goals. And it's a 6-month program, and it starts in September, and it's X dollars a month, you know, or X dollars for the whole program, whatever. It's like take the cost of the desk and then multiply it by 6 months, right? And so you're repackaging the rental of the desk as a mini incubator program. And all you're really doing is just applying a little bit of organizational muscle over it. But then instead of having 7 strangers who are sitting there renting a desk, you have 7 people who know each other, who are helping each other to grow their businesses. And now you've got some cultural cohesion there.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay. So the only thing that would make me nervous is that we have several accelerators and incubators in our community, and it's a very tight-knit community, and walking on toes with that. But I think it's feasible that this might be able to be something with that. I just need to figure out wording and how to like not step on lots of money's feet. It's a lot of investors in that accelerator programs.
Yeah. So the problem is we don't have good language for this.
Yeah.
What we're thinking of is like those incubators and accelerators provide a lot of stuff that you're not going to. And
Yes.
they're focused exclusively on the kinds of businesses that you don't need to focus on. And so what we're talking about is something that is similar, but is not the same and does not compete.
Okay.
And so
So essentially kind of just taking like our programming that we already have, like goal crushing Thursdays for the group accountability, like our networking events and stuff like that, just saying like, this is what you're getting through this, and run it through more structure than the rest of the community.
Yeah, just you're repackaging what you're already doing.
Okay. That makes a lot more sense.
Creating a sense of a cohort or cohesion, right? That like, it's these 7 people, they're all going to join by Labor Day. And then the meeting is going to happen the Wednesday after Labor Day, right? Which is like, or, you know, sometime in that 10-day range post Labor Day. And so like sign up by this date or apply by this date. We'll let you know if you're in, you know, or whatever. And then now you've got a cohort of people who have all joined at the same time. And hopefully you sold all 7 desks in one shot, which would be awesome, right?
Yes, it would.
And then those people, I mean, they could have their own T-shirt, right? They could have their own color, their own logo, their own flag, whatever it is. But like those folks are now a crew, and they're going to be on each other's team to help them to be more successful for the next 6 months. And there might even be a demo day that everybody else in the community is invited to, whatever it is. And you could even go niche specific on it. Maybe it's women businesses, right? Like women founded businesses.
Yeah. Sorry,
right?
You're just like speaking so much language of what we're working on. We're like really focusing on diversity and like women-owned business. And I think there's actually, we do like a mini accelerator to prove business models that's going to be starting, I think, in the fall. So that might be something that we can do. Okay.
Totally. Right. You can line this up in that. And you can always, I mean, the crazy thing about this is like, you can always just violate your own rules if you have to, you know? So if you start a 7-person, you know, women focused program and, you know, 4 people show up and you have 3 more desks to rent, then just rent out the other 3 desks and no one needs to know, you know, it's like, it's not a big deal. But go for it if you can.
Man, I'm stoked. Thanks, Tony. Like, this is perfect.
Please share whatever materials you create.
I actually have a lot to share with the group between sponsorships and all the new spreading of locations and stuff.
Damn it, we need to do a show and tell. You guys make so much good stuff. I want to see some of the stuff you guys are making because you make great stuff. It's going on my list. You guys are getting called out. Show and tell is going to happen.
Hey, Tony, back to the dedicated desk. What have you seen any averages on like the premium charged for a dedicated desk versus a flex desk or open space?
That's a great question. Like what the percentage premium is?
Yes.
I could probably give you my guess number just based on like the ranges I've seen. I would say definitely do your due diligence and look at the prices around your city and what are other people charging and do the math there. But I can tell you that just from my experience, dedicated desks tend to go from, $400 to $1,000 a month or whatever it is, and it settles in that like 500-ish range. And that non-dedicated space goes anywhere from $200 to $400 a month, settles into that 300-ish range. So it's actually a pretty substantial markup. I mean, 300 to 500 is, whatever that percentage is, right? That's the 66% markup. So it's in that vicinity. I would say that like the value of dedicated desk versus non-dedicated is high. Mm-hmm. It's higher than I ever thought it would be, but people really, really value the idea of this is my spot and I can leave my stuff and no one can touch it. That tends to command a pretty high value. And I would say also that the market is different. And that's what the difference is. That like the freelancer who's working from home is very price sensitive, right? Like it's hard for them to spend more than $100 or $200 a month on something. And then the person who's more established and doing well and making money doesn't mind spending $500, $600, $700 a month. Because the difference between 300 and 500 to that market, that person is really not as big as the freelance graphic designer who's scraping together every dollar, right? And I'll tell you guys this from a market research standpoint. I'm thinking about making a report because I really should put this together. I do see the trends that are coming. In New York City, we have 2 companies that are coming out now that are going to be everywhere. One is Spacious, which turns restaurants into co-working spaces. Restaurants that are only open for dinner, they turn them into co-working spaces by day. They lay out the power strips and they have their own Wi-Fi infrastructure and their own hospitality. It's very lightweight. They fit everything into like 2 giant boxes in the back room. And it's amazing because it lets me have an unlimited membership at locations all over the city for $95 a month. I'm actually paying to be a member of this, right? Like it's awesome. And it hits that sweet spot of like, I can't afford $300 a month or more for a co-working membership, but I can afford $100. And then the other one is deskpass.com, which is in several cities. And it's the same thing as ClassPass. It's basically like they negotiate with the co-working spaces to have discounted access to the space. So you pay $100 or $200 a month for DeskPass membership, and then you can access any of the spaces in the network, either limited or unlimited based on how much you spend. And there's just a limit to how many times you can visit any one location. And so the spaces use it to basically monetize their excess availability and also to attract new prospective customers into their space. And so that's like $100 or $200 a month. And I'm finding that this is an incredible sweet spot that's going to really, really grow the co-working market. And in both cases, they're able to make use of business models that aren't directly tied to the cost of your space. It's kind of, aftermarket or off-market kind of ways of doing it. But I'm realizing that if you're looking at your business model now, you're really looking at people who can afford membership at that $500 plus level, and then people who can't, but who still can benefit from access to your space in some way, and that sweet spot is in that $100 to $200 level. And so I'm just finding that there may be a valley in between where it might be hard to sell memberships. So that's kind of just my latest market analysis for you guys.
You should write a white paper, Tony.
I'm going to. You know what? I'm going to, and I'm going to sell it for a lot of money. It's going to be really fun. Does anybody have any experience selling expensive white papers? Because I have none, and I have a hard time selling expensive things.
I think my dad has.
Great. Can I partner with your dad on it? That would be great.
I don't know if you like him. He's an old military dude.
I might just put it out to my network. I'm going to work on improving the Organizers Club first. I'm going to do like a big round of improvements, I think, in August to the sales process and also to our internal thing. I'm working on creating a membership profile directory so we can all know each other a little better. I know that's one of the top requests. So I'm going to focus on that, and I think phase 2 will be to like spin up some more high level big ticket things like that to, open up some new revenue streams.
Cool.
Cool. I know we're over time. Any other questions before we wrap it up?
No, this was awesome, Tony. Thank you. Like for the whole agenda and what we covered, it was awesome.
Great. Well, all right. So awesome. If you're looking for sponsorships, definitely get those lists of people together. I'm going to try to create some templates for you as soon as I can. And I'll follow up in the discussion group and we'll go from there.
Awesome. Take it easy, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. All right. Take care.